guys, it's Amanda and Barron with Kickin'Cancer Cares, and we are back again. And our sponsor for the second half is Marianne McNally. She is a real estate specialist with the Next Home Realty Connection. So if you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, or just not really sure where to start and want to get your ducks all in a row, definitely reach out to her. Her number is 503-409-4389.
And keep her in your prayers.
Yes, please keep her in your prayers as she is currently going through her own battle with breast cancer.
Well, if anyone missed the first half, shame on you. You better go to YouTube and pick it back
Yes.
up. So it's Kickin'Cancer Productions on YouTube.
Okay.
Once you get there, subscribe. We just passed 100, so now we go to 150.
Yes.
Let's go, right? But there was something that Ashlie said in the last section that I think is really interesting. You talked about you put your Halloween candy down and just eat it, but don't sit there and snack on it while you're watching TV.
Mm-hmm.
I'd ask both these guys if they could just throw 3 tips out, 3 tips to give the listeners on how to really eat more mindfully.
Mm-hmm.
There's a phrase that Ashlie uses a lot called making conscious choices. Right?
Love it.
And one of Devon's conscious choices is actually the whole TV thing that she said. But Devon, you threw 3 of them out there. Do you want to hit on a couple of these real quick?
Yeah, so as we come into the holiday season, a lot of times things are laid out in like a buffet style where we would typically sit down with a plate, eat our dinner, and move on. For a lot of people, and even myself, who I'm a grazer, it can be easy to go back and pick. So a couple of tips, the 3 that I laid out is, one is portion your food, and plate size does matter. If you can, opt for a slightly smaller plate. Filling a smaller plate and going back and getting some of the things that I always say start with the things that you need. So get your whole foods, your veggies, your proteins, your healthy fats, and then go back for the things that you like. If you have a large plate, you tend to overeat. So having a small plate, saying, wow, I had 2 small plates, will make you feel a little bit more full than being like, oh, I only had 1 plate and it's a big plate. And then you go, and then you're like, well, I can go back again.
A lot of stuff on that big plate.
That you can. So portion your food. The second is, to Allie's point, mindful eating. Try not to eat while being distracted, whether that's watching TV. Obviously, you're enjoying the company of your family, which is nice because that'll actually allow you to slow down. If you're talking while you're eating, makes it a little bit easier. But sitting in front of the TV, especially during Super Bowl, you could easily go through 30 chicken wings and be like, wow, I need to go grab some more. So be mindful of distractions. And then, as I mentioned before, the first bite and the last bite taste the same. So if you are to the point where it's like, okay, I want to grab some dessert, instead of grabbing 3 slices of 3 different pies, take what would be 1 slice and cut it into thirds from each one. So now you still have 1 slice of pie. You get to try all 3. You've just eliminated having to take a larger portion size, which goes back to both tip 2 and 1.
Okay.
And if these mics weren't attached, I see Allie's face.
I love this. I love this. I love this. I'm so on board. Absolutely. I love food. That's how I got into this. I love food, and it's not that we can't enjoy this fun stuff, but 100% we were talking about how do you enjoy, big desserts. It's like you get the wine tasting type of mentality of okay, I'm going to try all of these different ones, and so 100%.
Well, and when you were on before, Devon, you said you take a guy who's a foodie and he becomes a bodybuilder. Well, how to get better advice about food than a guy who actually monitors what he eats.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect, but I do follow these rules. We talked about it before we started. Yesterday, I had half a pizza, and I added chicken to it. That was my protein. So I made sure I had adequate protein to it. And then I had probably 4 8-ounce cookies, so that's 2 pounds of cookies. I didn't eat the 2 pounds. I cut them all into fourths. Maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. And I just took a piece from each one. But I sat down, the family was watching, I think we were watching Hocus Pocus. And so I sat down away from the TV and just, enjoyed it mindfully. And then I moved on. Not something I do all the time, but again, not something I feel guilty about at all.
Right.
So it's being able to have those stopping points and understand how to maximize.
Well, I know when Deb and I were talking about these tips, and I love that you brought that up about, eat till you're satisfied and content. And it was just like a few days before Deb and I talked that we had gone to a Mexican restaurant, and what I wanted was a chile relleno. Now, I'm not even joking when I said when the platter came out, it was about 14 inches across.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a huge platter, and the chili relleno takes up a little portion of that.
Right.
But guess what? They got beans, they got rice, they got all the other stuff to take up the rest of that platter.
Yeah.
And if I want everything in the platter, then first thing I say is, you might as well just bring a box for me now, because I'm not going to eat all this stuff. And so I don't feel guilty for not finishing the platter, because that's more than I wanted to begin with.
Right.
But I'll take the extras home with me in a to-go box.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I ate the chili relleno, and I didn't really want all the rest of those beans and rice, and so I didn't feel guilty about, you throw it away. I didn't want all that in the stuff in the first place.
Yeah.
But I ate until I was satisfied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even last night, like I didn't even make it through all the little sample pieces of cookies. I got through maybe 4 of them, which is still a decent amount of cookies, don't get me wrong. I made it through about 1 whole cookie, and then I took a bite of another one, and I decided I was done. Now, had I had all 4 or 6 or whatever the whole cookies were in front of me, there probably would have been a lot more damage done, I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
But I ate until I was good. I knew that I could keep eating, didn't want to. I had what I wanted, and I put it back and moved on.
So I have a problem, like, if something is so good, I lose all control, and I'll eat until I make myself sick.
The
Because I
photographer's
just-
waving her hand.
Because I just love the flavor of it. And yes, the first bite's as good as the last bite, but what if I don't want the flavor and the bites to quit? What do you do?
Well, that's where I think having those foods without breaks, or just setting yourself up for success, right?
Yeah.
So Devon had great analogies earlier with like potato chips.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, right. Like it's hard to stop, and those foods are designed to do that, right? So you keep eating them, so you have to keep buying them, and they sell more product, right? So when you learn that, you're like, okay, these are designed to have no breaks and to overeat on. So therefore, I need to be a little bit, more strategic with it. So like have that with a steak. A steak is really hard to overeat on. It's really nutrient dense. Broccoli is also hard to overeat on. So if we have some of those things with that meal, it's harder to overeat, and you're gonna get more full. It's gonna send a whole nother signal besides just your stomach stretching that like I am full, I need to stop eating.
And I'm right there with you. I even did the same thing last night. I had the pizza. Well, I had the half a pizza, and that was at like 5:30. And at the beginning, I was telling myself, okay, we're going to start the movie at 6. I'm not going to eat cookies until like 7:38. Now, had that had happened, I can promise you right now, the only thing left would be wrappers. But I said, you know what? I just ate a good amount of protein. I have the carbs. I have the fats. I'm going to eat the cookies right now, so I will less likely overeat. Like, cookies are my vice. It's my addiction. And I used to be somebody that would overeat. And so just being mindful, to Allie's point, and saying, okay, I'm going to have those now knowingly that I'm less full is going to cause me is going to give me the ability to likely not overeat on that. So pairing it with something that will pump those brakes for you.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
And that's
Bring the brakes.
It's that mindful eating that Allie talks a lot about. The other thing you mentioned to me when we were talking ahead of time, Devon, was talking about portion control. That if you had a bag of potato chips, and I could just stick in my hand the bag of potato chips, but if you poured the potato chips into a bowl that I could only have this many potato chips, it's a whole lot easier to go, and I'm done.
Yeah.
But if it's accessible to just keep sticking your hand in there,
Too easy, man.
And then you don't even realize how much you've eaten as well when you just keep taking out of the bag, and all of a sudden the bag's gone, and it's like, oh, Lord.
where did it all go?
I keep my cookies in the freezer for this exact reason. Because if I really want a cookie, I have to get it out of the freezer. It has to thaw, because if you've ever had a microwave frozen cookie, it's terrible. I have to let it thaw, then I can microwave it, but I'll usually put it in the oven, because then that takes another 3 or 4 minutes, and it cooks better.
Quality.
But I really have to be conscious that I want this cookie. So I have to take it out of the freezer, thaw it, heat it, eat it. And at that point, it's like, okay, that's a lot of work.
multiple steps.
Yeah. Do I really want it? The answer yesterday was yes.
Absolutely. I also have brownies in the freezer. That's
So
where they live.
I love where you're headed, Devon, and I know what's interesting is that I talked to Allie and Devon separately, and there wasn't any crossover. Like, Allie has 3 completely different tips for you. So do you remember what your 3 tips were, Allie?
I wrote them down. I'm ready.
Oh, good. Yes,
I'm ready.
She's
Technically 4. Eating slowly
get a
and
bonus.
stopping when full. I'll combine those 2. I find so many problems are just solved when we don't overeat. And I'd say that like it's a simple thing. It's not. I definitely have struggled with overeating before, whether it's healthy food or not healthy food. But those things need practice. This is basically what Devon said earlier, is I need people to pay their nutrition bills before they go shopping.
Oh, I like that.
So you don't spend your entire paycheck on Amazon before you paid your rent or your mortgage, right? So that's my check for people to like be responsible with what you're eating. I'm not here to restrict you on food, but you need to be responsible. And I think I tend to work with people that are a little bit more on the sick spectrum, or they got some weird things that like they've tried a lot of like general nutrition stuff and they're not quite seeing the results to like get healthier, or we're looking at blood work or chronic conditions and stuff like that. So I might have asked them to like be a little stricter of like 90% of the time I need you to, you know, pay your bills first, and then we can talk about the fun stuff. But I need you to pay your bills first before you go shopping. And that's where the fun stuff goes in. And that's where we need to find your balance. Like, you know, if you want to go out with your friends tonight and have some fun food, totally fine with that. But were you responsible this morning? Did you give yourself some good protein? Did you give yourself some vegetables? Or did you already carb up for the day? And now you want to go out and have a bunch of drinks and have a bunch of sweets and stuff. I'm like, you didn't pay your bills first. Like, look at the day. Look at the balance of the day. Was that good, or were you just frivolous?
Isn't that a great analogy, though?
That is,
I love that.
Yeah. My husband's a financial advisor, so that comes up all the time. Yeah.
Merged them together.
Yeah, it's too easy.
Well, and you made a statement, and I've often joked about this with people, but so often after Thanksgiving dinner, everyone gets this sluggish feeling, and there's a chemical in turkey, it's called tryptophan. And so turkey always gets blamed because they're like, well, the tryptophan made me feel sluggish. Or was it the 3,500 calories of carbs you just consumed?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because you got mashed potatoes and you got the yams, and like Allie said, then who even thought it was a good idea to put brown sugar and marshmallows on top of yams?
I don't know, but thank you.
Right there with you.
We got two votes.
I could say some last night.
So the reason you're sluggish is because of the carbs, and you basically you didn't pay your bills first, right?
Well, and technically, my fourth point, I guess, third, whatever, is eat to feel good. So, like, we need to be responsible for part of the time, but also, like, if I'm really honest with myself, if I gave people two choices, like, okay, we're going to have Thanksgiving tonight, we're going to have all the things, right? Option one, eat everything, all the food you want, no restrictions, go wild. And we're like, okay, how are we going to feel? Probably a little bit bloated, a lot of bit bloated, and pretty sluggish, etc. Like, you can instantly think about what that's going to feel like, right? Or option two, we have a little bit of like a small plate and a sample of everything, so you get to try everything. You're not restricted, but like you stop when you're full, or just maybe past full, and you aren't super bloated, you're not tired, you might actually be hungry in the next 24 hours, because that definitely happens. You overeat so much you don't want to look at food for another day.
Right.
Those are your choices. You actually have choices. You don't have to like fully sign up for being extremely uncomfortable and like have to change into sweatpants because your pants are so tight. So, eat to feel good is my goal.
It's my wife and kids' favorite, so I think it's Katy Perry or somebody. It's called Stretchy Pants. Carrie Underwood, Stretchy Pants. Throw that on here. You'll love it. It's all about wearing your sweats and going in on some good food.
It's a real song.
It's a real song, yeah.
Well, so I'm just loving this conversation. Are you picking up some interesting thoughts here?
Oh my gosh, yes. Everything. Well, I apply all of this to my daily life, and I try to more so get away from the word, I guess, dieting, more just better eating. And it's more of a lifestyle than and just choices of moving forward. And it's funny because my punishments of when I was a child are my goals as an adult.
Yes.
Right.
You know, get good sleep, get my fruits and vegetables in, all the things.
Like when you were a kid, it's like you have to go to bed early. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Wait to go to bed now.
Bye.
And so just applying all of these, this is all great advice that, you know, I think no matter how far into or not far into this journey I am, all of this stuff is just also just good reminders, because we can easily get lost. Right now, I have admitted to my husband I am in my food era.
There you go.
Coming right up.
Yeah.
I hit a goal and I started to lose control, and I'm like, whoa, I got to pull back a little bit. I can still enjoy all the food because I am obsessed with vegetables. I love vegetables and just eating good.
Yeah.
So it's not super hard, but there are times where I love my queso dip and chips a lot. And so, but just finding that balance.
Well, I want to introduce something new to our show.
Okay.
This is going to be really fun. And Allie's actually going to help us with this.
Okay.
So every show, we're going to bring a fun fact.
Okay.
Okay. Except, if you're listening, you're going to have to go to the YouTube channel to get the rest of the fun fact. Because Ashley's going to add some interesting video.
Okay.
And then the first person that emails Amanda
Okay.
at Amanda.
At kslm.news.
So email Amanda with the fun fact, and I'm gonna mail you one of our flyers with one of our Kicking Cancer stickers in the flyer, and then we will shout you out on a future show.
Oh, fun.
Nice.
Right?
I love that.
So today's fun fact is actually amazing because Allie was telling about this. So do you have that?
Is this the mind over milkshakes?
Yes, this is the mind over milkshake. This is a really interesting study. So I'm just going to turn it over to Allie with this fun fact.
Yeah, so this study is called, if you want to look it up yourself, Mind Over Milkshakes, Mindsets, Not Just Nutrients, Determine Ghrelin Response, and this came out in 2011. What that means, or basically what happened in the study, is they measured ghrelin, and ghrelin is a hormone that indicates hunger. So if I eat a giant Thanksgiving meal, like my ghrelin will be low. Like I'm fully satisfied, not going to be hungry again for a while. So in this study, they compared, it was exactly the same milkshake. So you had 2 milkshakes. They were exactly the same. One was labeled as like diet, skinny, light, like had that indication of like it's a healthy option, it's a low calorie option. And then the second one was labeled as like decadent, full fat or whatever, like very luxurious milkshake. Exactly the same ingredients. And what they measured was people based on their perception of the 2 different shakes, which are really the same. They had different ghrelin responses. So the people who had the quote diet shake had a very minimal drop off in ghrelin. So it wasn't very satisfying for them. And they were hungry a lot sooner versus the people who had the decadent one, their ghrelin levels dropped off drastically because they just had this decadent shake.
Yeah.
They had the exact same thing. Their perception of it was different. So all of this to say, be mindful, and if you tell yourself that, I'm feeding myself good food, this is really nutrient dense, and I fully believe that and take that on as, truth, you can definitely have a much better impact on how you're eating. And like you said, probably take yourself out of that diet mentality. If you know you're eating low calorie stuff all day, I'm probably much more likely to be hungry versus when I have clients that don't track and I just say, hey, eat this. They're like, gosh, I'm so full. And I'm like, you have no idea that this is very much quote, diet friendly or will create easy weight loss for you.
That hit super close to home because when I was dieting and counting calories, some days it'd be like, okay, I've only hit this much. I'm starving. I'm gonna splurge when I get home because I can.
Right.
But if I don't think that, and it's like, no, I haven't been hungry all day, then I'm good, and I'm not. So that's very interesting.
Mind is a powerful thing.
It really is.
Ever wondered why you're always hungry even after a big meal? The answer might be in your mind. Let's talk about ghrelin. It's known as the hunger hormone. Ghrelin signals your brain when it's time to eat. But here's the twist. Your mindset can influence how much ghrelin your body produces. Imagine this. 2 people eating the same meal. One thinks it's a healthy, low-calorie snack. The other believes it's a rich, indulgent treat. Guess what? Their ghrelin levels can respond differently, even though the food is identical. Studies show that when you think you're eating something filling, your body produces less ghrelin. When you think you're eating something light, it produces more. This means your thoughts can actually make you feel fuller or hungrier. So how can nutritionists use this info? Encourage your clients to focus on the satisfaction and nourishment they're getting from their meals. Help them shift their mindset to view food as fuel, not just calories. Changing how we think about food can help control hunger hormones and improve satiety. It's not just about what you eat, but how you think about what you eat. Got it? Your thoughts can play a huge role in managing hunger. So next time you eat, remember, it's all in your mind. And that's the power of ghrelin. Stay curious, stay informed, and help your clients feel more satisfied with every bite. Until next time, keep thinking smart about food.
Well, and what was so interesting when she shared this with me is it was some months back, but Devon and I had gotten together, and I had one of those Cliff Bars.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm eating super healthy because I want a Cliff Bar, right? So I showed it to Devon. Remember that conversation?
I remember you coming to me after
And he's
that.
reading all the ingredients and said, well, just go buy a Snickers bar.
Were you crying? Oh.
Like, dadgummit,
good.
this thing is supposed to be an energy bar.
I think aside from 7 grams of protein difference, it was pretty much identical to the Snickers bar.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reason that I love Devon being part of our staff Kicking Cancer is that a lot of the marketing ideas that we run off each other, and that was purely a marketing concept. This is an energy bar. No, it's a Snickers bar with a different name on it.
Yes.
And to both of your points, and I just pulled this up to fact check myself to make sure that it was the right amount. People that eat highly processed foods more often, on average, consume 500 more calories a day.
Interesting.
That's your average calorie deficit for the day for fat loss, right?
And if you add that up over the course of 7 days, that's 3,500 calories. I'll do the math for you, which is equal to
1 pound of fat.
So if you're gaining a pound of fat per week, which would be 30 pounds in a month, hopefully you're not, take a look at, check yourself before you wreck yourself, literally. Cut back on the processed food, because that's probably where you'll find...
Allie's over here glowing right
I
now.
love this stuff.
You'll probably find where your nutrition budget allocation is is going.
Pay your bills
Interesting,
first.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So pay your bills
Yeah.
first.
Pay your
Pay your
bills
bills
first.
first. I mean, I think it's a great statement. I look at people in my life who have financial issues, and if they use that as an example, well, maybe they have a gambling addiction, and so they go to the lottery machine believing that they're going to win this time, which they don't, and all of a sudden their mortgage didn't get paid.
Yeah.
So you got to pay your important bills first.
I would say a lot of people would do the same thing with health. They're looking for the best protein powders, the best supplements, is
quick
cold
fix.
plunge work, does that help? Is sauna, is that something I should be doing? Or maybe I need to do Pilates instead of weightlifting, or whatever the new thing is. I'm like, we're probably pretty boring if you were to follow us around all the time. Like, what do you eat? What do you do? Like, it's very well proven things. It's not like the newest, sexiest
Right.
supplement that
Yeah.
we're, waiting in line to buy.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that Devon would agree that when it comes to anything that you're marketing, sexy is going to sell a whole lot better than some
Yeah.
boring concepts.
Oh, yeah.
But if you just take these tips we've given you today to get through these next 8 to 10 weeks, it might not be some sexy thing you're going to see on TV for weight loss, but you're going to feel a whole lot better.
Hopefully it's easy though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing I've taken away is what Devon said when you said with the potato chips to the fries to the whole potato. And it's so true when you break it down like that, and it makes me happy because I do real potatoes for dinner versus instant mashed potatoes or whatever it may be, and go get my vegetables and cook them up instead of it being in a bag or processed or whatever that may be. And so I feel like overall we eat pretty healthy in our home with whole foods versus processed foods.
Yeah.
But that broken down like that, it's like, dang. Because you can put down a bag of potato chips, no problem, or a bunch of fries. But a whole potato, that's a different story.
Oh, yeah, not nearly as fun.
Right.
Well, I'm hoping this was beneficial for you and the listeners
Oh, yeah.
to kind of get us through the holidays.
Absolutely.
With our timeline, this has happened, I can't even tell you how many times this has happened, that I literally have a journal at home where I just made little notes over the years, and I'm glad I did it because I can go back and go, well, what's happening in the timeline? And in the timeline, it was March the 5th of 2022. We're far enough out of the COVID protocols that I was finally able to pull off one of our sit-down clinics, and we brought 8 vendors. We went to the rack. We got the room kind of above that has a...
Oh, yeah.
And I asked 2 people in town to be our speakers, and one of them was Allie.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
In the timeline, and the other
That's
one
cool.
was a business called Phoenix Rising,
They're so great.
and their talk was amazing too. But it's 2 women who were actually in the medical community, and they got so frustrated they called them frequent flyers. But they would watch people come in to the Salem Hospital and not even fix a problem, and then leave, and then come back within the next few weeks. And like, these people, we're not helping anybody. They just keep cycling through.
Yeah.
So they went out on their own and they formed their own business, and the husband runs all the business side, and these 2 ladies. So Allie got up and spoke. Remember that?
Yeah, that's
seminar?
fun.
That was a lot of fun. So we were. That was our timeline item. Is we're up here above the bowling alley, basically. But we had 8 vendors around the room, and Allie was one of them, and she had a little stuffed emoji.
I had 2 stuffed
Yes.
emoji pillows, different sizes and colors and
Yeah,
shapes.
yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The other thing that I would like to do today, and hopefully we can do this more often, is I know that our listener base is growing. On what amazing to me is on podcast, we've actually hit 43 nations. The U.S. is the highest, but the biggest nation outside the United States is France. United Kingdom just passed Germany, so UK is number 2, Germany's number 3 on the podcast services. We're at 3,500 downloads on podcast. Well, thanks to Ashlie, now YouTube is actually 8 to 9 times as many people are watching and listening.
Okay. That's exciting.
Yeah, from YouTube, we're getting 8 to 9 times as many people finding us, and the United Kingdom has now become the 2nd spot that is watching us on YouTube.
Okay.
The United Kingdom and then the United
Yeah, so United States, United Kingdom, and Canada. Those are the three main
Wow.
ones.
Okay.
So what I do know is somebody out there, we're calling them go-to teams. It's a phrase that
Yeah.
Nikki said, right?
Mhm.
If you have a go-to team, a resource in your community, I don't care if it's Chicago or Dallas or
Wherever.
London, England, right?
Yeah.
If you have a go-to, please email Amanda at,
Amanda@kslm.news.
because we want people to know that there are resources out there.
Yeah.
You know, we're starting here in Salem. We have a branch in Vancouver. We're actually in conversation with Bend to create
Okay.
another community in Bend.
Yes.
We're also in conversation with Rapid City, South Dakota.
Okay.
And it's really something that Devon said at one point. Kicking Cancer is about community.
Mm-hmm.
Community come together for healthy reasons
Yeah.
to get rid of cancer, support those, then we grow. And so if you have a resource, please let us know what that resource
Yes,
is.
please.
So
Okay.
that's my other update for you.
Okay. Awesome. So then we're ready to move forward with our sponsor.
Yes.
Okay, huge shout out to Marianne McNally, who is with Next Home Realty Connection. So if you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, just not sure where to start, definitely give her a call. Her number is 503-409-4389. And please keep her in your prayers, you guys. She's going through her own battle and could use all the prayers right now. So, all right, we'll be back next week as the movement continues.